Hello and welcome. This is Catherine Perry, the Big Vision Coach, and we are at day 4 of the 5-day Go for the Gold new client sign up challenge. And it's been kind of a ride. This morning I shared with the group, it's interesting that the main thing that it turns out we're talking about is I'm almost convincing people and I'm taking people through a sales process about why they should take action on their own dream. They want to, they think about it, they talk about it, they're doing a lot of work around it, but they're not doing the key actions. And so we started out the week with mindset, and then it's been, tapping into that creative force as we connect to our own higher power using the one command, our own greater intelligence, aligning to the greatness that we are, but also aligning to the healer or the teacher or the speaker or whatever it is, to that core identity that we hold, and really let that part of us be the guide. And the reason that that's important is that so often people think that the sales process and the coaching process, or the sales process and the teaching process, or the sales process and the healing process are different, when in fact it is actually the same model. And you've got to be able to hold that original position in integrity, and that's really what we're doing. And what I see happening from my perspective, besides just wanting to give you as much as humanly possible. In fact, I was a little worried that I might be blowing people out of the water a bit. But from my perspective, what I see happening is there are people that, all the marketing that is set up for people, all the marketing books, the trainings, everything. It's really more designed for, are you an action taker? You got to go for it. And it's all these A personality types, but there's not really anybody talking directly to more of the tender-hearted, caring, committed, who want to share and help other people. And they don't have a high value on necessarily getting their own needs met, or even they have this big separation between getting paid for the work they do and allowing that work they do be a source of their abundance. Let me check to see. I'm checking on messages and everything else, so I'm going to be coming back and forth if that's okay. I'm a little worried because I'm expecting more people on the call at this time, but I'm just going to go ahead and continue. So what's needed to happen here is there's needed to be an enrollment, if you will, of people's deeper values, and taking some time to sit with that and think with it, and then to start expand their thinking on what's possible. All week long I've been kind of talking about these 4 points, and for the most part, if we are coaching anyone, and then even in us, where we might categorize ourselves in our learning, is when we are, they're the people that they don't know what they can do, but they have a sense that there's something they can do. Okay, they go, I need to do more. Like maybe if we were looking at the business opportunity space, they'd say, look, I can only work so many hours in a day, and a part-time job is not going to pay as much as a full-time job, but what I need to make is more than my full-time job, right? I don't even know what that would look like. So if we were thinking about being a coach or a healer, we might go, well, I know I help people because it happens all the time. You could count on your fingers and your toes, and people would tell you story after story about the incredible insights that you have, the time that you helped out, and that you were the comforter and the friend. But you're still not quite sure what that format would look like. You're not sure about that world. It's still a relatively new business model, and it's so new that if you tell someone you're a coach, they kind of go like this. I'm going to take off my glasses. They go, ah, what do you do with that? Or like a football coach, or what is that? They think they know, like you talk to people and you don't know what that happens, right? So unless they've already gotten training in the, in the other sphere, like maybe through their corporate jobs or something like that, that there was someone assigned to them that was called a coach, right? So there's still people not quite sure, and there are not people, unless people have been trained as to what a coach is, a lot of people don't know how to actively seek it or how to build the model around it, okay? So we have this gift, we have these skills, abilities, we have this sense. We're kind of hearing about this stuff in this space, so we start looking around, right? So we have a sense of what we want to do, but we don't quite know what it is yet, right? So we're still in this kind of open investigation. That's one. Two is we know what we want to do, and we have figured out what the format is. And it may or may not be the perfect format, but at least it's a framework that you can go, you know what, I can make it work. I'm going to commit myself and my time to making this happen. Okay, and that happened with me when I said, I know I want to help people, and I kept thinking about it, and I was trying to figure out what what I could earn as a living, right? And I wasn't earning much at the time. It was $15 an hour, I think, in free rent, and then I was picking up extra work. That's how I was living. But I was going, that's still not enough, because I've got to invest in, I've got to have a place to live and pay for car and insurance, but I've got to invest in my education. I've got to invest in all these different things. And so it just came to me one day as I was like in meditation, like, oh, I always envisioned myself speaking to groups of people. In fact, when anyone ever had like a prophecy or a gift or anything that, anything that they would come up with some message for me, it was, I see you speaking to millions of people. I see stadiums full of people. I'm like, okay, great, thanks. I have no idea how that would happen, but thank you. So it was like, okay, it would be seminars and workshops. And honestly, I can't even point to one that I had attended to at that time beyond a Sunday school, right? I can't even think of a class I took outside of anything for work. But I knew there was something called seminars and workshops, and I was like, that was it. Now I need to find somebody who does that. And I just held that vision, right? But I still didn't quite know how to make it happen, and that's the third distinction. Like, you know what you want to do, you know what your skills, you know what you want to do, you know how you want to do it, but there is a big gap in your learning. You're missing the skills on that, okay? So that stops you from taking action. And then finally, it's like, I know what I want to do, I know how I want to do it, I've been studying this, but I'm still not doing it. And so now we know we've got resistance or some type of mental block, okay? And there are people that just decided to do stuff and they started letting people know about it, and then people started paying them. That just sounds ridiculous, but that happens. So what we've been going through this week is, it's really been a very high touch experience, because I've been doing a lot of one-on-one kind of demonstrating coaching. Like, as people ask their questions, we come through here. Then I'm turning it to be more personal, and people are learning that way. And so that's what's happening. And so I had this really this vision of, I'm going to take you through these steps, and we'll hit the mindset piece, and then in the morning you'll be ready to start reaching out. And I think that there needs to be a little more preparation, but I think that there's enough preparation that you could start taking some action to even at least start having some exploratory phone calls or outreach. And I gave a model of that this morning in, like where we want to start. And then I'll go through a review very quickly, and then the video will be up. If I have to go find my, I don't know what the deal is, but it may take all night to get it uploaded, but by golly, this thing's happening. So let me do a little quick review, and I want to check in and say hi, and I need to also check back to the Facebook group for just a second to see, am I getting messages from anybody? No, I don't know what's going on. but I'm just going to keep going and we're going to get it recorded. So Bari, it may just be me and you today. Okay. Let me see who's in the room. Oh, we got more people coming on. Hi, we've got Annette, Bari, Heather, and Sue. Yay, the doorbell didn't ring, so it didn't tell me. I was almost afraid that it was just me and Bari today. So, so just kind of checking in, letting y'all know where you were. And then this morning, hi, honey. Hi, Annette. I'm so glad you found me. This has been quite a stressful couple of days, frankly, for me, because I really have got a lot of information I want to get out with the internet not connecting. That's not made me very happy, honestly. But I want to do a real quick review of what we went over this morning and a couple of the key points. And then the video is rendered and ready to upload, and it's in 2 parts, just to let you know what you're looking at. The first one, I actually did a one-on-one check-in with everybody. We had about 5 people on the call, and each one kind of got some spot coaching that helped everybody else, okay? And we kind of talked about where everybody is stuck is they're still not sure who they would be coaching. And so we had touched on that earlier on the week, as far as like, think about that ideal client in the past. Now we want to bring them through our heart and then project it into the future. And who is that? And so there's still some confusion around there. And guys, I'm going to reveal something to you in my super amazing superpower as I help people identify their niches. When I am talking to people, people wind up self-identifying their own niche, but they don't hear themselves saying it. They will literally say, this is who I love to work with, this is the results I get, and this is how I love to work with them. But then they go, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know who I talk to. I don't know how to help, because a lot of times as coaches or healers, we kind of have this kind of random assortment. People come and we've got this skill set that is applicable to a bunch of different people. And so it's been kind of hard for us, because the people who come to us are kind of all over the map, but who we haven't paid attention to are the ones that really we had the big impact on, and we haven't paid attention to what the common denominator is besides us. Okay, so that's why you've got to put your attention back on the people and really kind of step back and dissect what happened, what really happened there, and what was the problem, and what do these 5 random or 20 or 100 random people have in common besides me. So that's the way I want you to think about it, okay? So we did a little coaching around that, and then we kind of talked about where we would find the people. And this is the handout from today, and it's uploaded in the files. But if you want me, I can actually pull the link. This is my Google document, guys. And I'm seeing a lot of big name people do slides and presentations just like this. Isn't that cool? So this is mine. Who needs to, I'm going to check the chat box. Who does not have a handout? And if you need one, I can give you the link for it. Check for that. Waited a couple of minutes to make sure you were on. Yeah, I understand, Sue. So here's the thing with Zoom. Particularly when I'm on it, I don't know what happens, but for some reason it works best if I sign into Zoom first and have been inviting people. If I join later, or we're all kind of joining at the same time, then that's the problem. Okay, so let me get a link for you, Miss Bari. And here's what I'm doing, guys. I'm generating the share. And then I am putting together a particular folder. It's just been really hard to do much of this work with the internet issue I'm having, frankly. So I don't have things quite set up. No, not making excuses, but I do think y'all know that I got this idea last Thursday and announced it an hour and a half for this Wednesday, and I don't have any help. So I really underestimated what was going to happen. maybe if the internet had kind of worked a little bit better, things would be going a little faster, but I don't know. And I don't know how it turns out this is perfect. So we can just assume it must be, okay? So this morning, just kind of going back over the points, we spent some time talking about who our ideal niche is and maybe what's stopping us from doing that, okay? Then we kind of talked about, well, let's just pick somebody so that we can start exploring that. And then as you start exploring, your focus will start to narrow, or you may even start changing directions. So please, this is not being written on stone, but you have to start someplace. Agreed? Okay, we have to start. Can I go ahead and actually make that sentence shorter? We have to start. Wait a minute, I'm going to make it even shorter. Start. You got to pick with something. Pick something, okay? We got to make that happen. So when we think about, where our ideal client is, when we are thinking about marketing, then we go, hey, where are we? Where can we find them? How can we get in relationship with them? But then the next piece is, who's already in relationship with them? Okay, yeah. Hey, Bari, I'd be happy to do a session with you on clearing my entities that are blocking my internet things. So, yeah, hey, I'll be happy for that. Okay, so we figure out where they are, right? Who's already serving them? So we took a look at that, and then so on the handout, we do have some suggestions. And this is just to kind of get your idea going. But then even on the call, we pointed out some other ways to start generating some interest in things moving to you. Like I shared a strategy about using a service called Reddit. And I almost feel like I need to do a tutorial on Reddit on some ways that you can pivot that into attracting clients without being salesy or fake or having to pay for advertising. If that would be useful, let me go, hey, Catherine, teach that one. But we looked at Facebook, LinkedIn, some of the advantages, and then how to think about the associations and networking meetings. We even pulled it down to the, hey, big business cards. I told the story about a friend of mine who went to work for his brother, who has this big multi-million-dollar company. And what he does is, of course, big multi-million-dollar companies use phone sales. They can do outreach just like what I'm showing you. But they're not going to do it as loving and sweet and the heart of service the way you do and the way I do, okay? But they do direct outreach, and one of the things they do is they start handing these salesmen all these boxes of cards, like from networking meetings. How many people have those, right? I have boxes and boxes from years and years. And two things I did with them. One, I scanned them all in, and I sent them to my sweet Jelly May down in the Philippines. I said, please turn this into a Excel sheet for me so that I can try and update it and see who's live and who's not. And then this is the strategy they used. They said, hey, I have your card in my hand. I think we have connected at one point, but we've never really gotten to speak. Do you have a few minutes? And so there may be people that you had a great conversation with at a meeting, but then it's been 2 or 3 years ago, and you went, oh, I said I was going to call them, but I didn't. Don't be embarrassed. They do the same thing. It happens to all of us. But now you might just say, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I've got your card in my hand, and then you might prompt it, and it's like, are you still doing your business? I want to just catch up with you and see what you were up to. So we do that. Whatever groups you're already in. I talked about a special interest group. Then I wanted you to start thinking about how you plan to possibly connect. Now, what I'm proposing is what I'm about to share with you here. And it's a very soft way to do outreach that's not cold calling, okay? And so just to give you some ideas to start thinking about it, we have presentations, and then I shared about what my friend Anthony did, where how he made $150,000 his first year in business, and exactly kind of like what his script was and what his process was. Then I showed what his map looked like. And then I gave you a place for you to think about what your map would look like. And this is sometimes called a money map, okay? And this gets you out of that loop of the free session thing, like, hey, would you like to have a free session? Like, well, you are not the lady passing out cheese. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And people go, yeah, free session, and they have a transformation, and then they're like, would you like coaching? And then they go, I think I'm good. Now, if anything else comes up, let me know. You know, like, how could you be good now? You have been worried about this for, the last 15 years. And we're just demonstrating. There's no way you feel better, but what you did was you relieved the pain, but you didn't really have a setup for an intention from the beginning of what they could expect out of that conversation, right? And everybody tries to rush to that converting conversation a little too fast because they're thinking about getting that sale. They're coming from need and needing to make money, and I want to do this and I don't want to fail, and everything's built up in it. You got to let yourself slow down and be present to people and really deep listen and be with them. And then you're going to actually be a little more prescriptive. You're going to be in your loving, wise healer mode. You're going to be in your coach mode, right? And then you're going to be doing deep listening to find out, is this someone I could work with? Is this someone I can help? Or is this someone that just really likes to complain? That may or may, unless you have a big ministry for complainers, I know that's not my people, right? But then you're just still almost preparing them to start thinking about their situation could change. And if you are reflecting back in a way that makes sense to them, on a way that they're already thinking about it, which we call that mirroring and matching, right? Using your coaching skills. And they feel that we care about them and we have a plan, do you think they would be more likely to want to keep talking to you? And they may not be your right person now, but they may be the right person in a few months. So we don't know. But there could be someone they know, right? So the object of what we're going to be doing, and we're going to start tomorrow, and I really want to challenge people to actually take action and say, okay, I'm going to do some outreach. Even though I don't have everything 100%, I can at least start reaching out to people and tell them what I'm thinking about and get their feedback. Okay, and we'll talk about that too. Then I'll be talking in the morning, but I've really been thinking about the group, and I think what would be more helpful for the group and what people are really seem to be responding to best. And I actually had something all figured out, and I was going to be presenting and offering, and I think what I have is actually going to be a better fit for you. So we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. Okay, is that a deal? So we've started with this money map, okay, and where we want to go. This is an article that I'm actually writing deeper, and that's going to be showing up in the files. And like I said, I am going to be putting together a Google Doc file that has all of this contained together, okay? But what I want to talk about right now is, I'm going to make my picture smaller. There we go. So I can get over here, and I want to make this bigger. All right, so I'm going to just put this in the center. Like, that looks crazy. Who teaches that? And I have the source for this. I'm going to tell you straight up, I am not the inventor of this, but the first day I did this rocked my world. I'm just going to tell you, because when I heard it explained, it just made sense. So I'm going to go over this, and then I'll share with you what I did with it, and then how I still use it today. And then if we've got some time, we'll do a little hot seat with it. Before we get much further, I want to do a quick little check-in, because I know y'all are busy, you got a lot going on, but I want to check in with Annette right quick, and then I want to just check in with each one of you and just see where you are in the process, okay? So I'm going to first unmute Annette. Hey, honey, how are you doing? Are you there?
I'm okay. I have a bit of a cold.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't make you talk too long, but God bless you. You have been trying, and then I've had the internet issues, but have you been able to get anything done on this? Are you there? I'm sorry, I think there's some interruption because I'm not able to hear you. So for the sake of time, I'm going to check in on you later with on PM, okay? So I'll check with you through Facebook Messenger in a bit later, okay? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh, there we go. I'm going to, oh, here comes messages popping up. Chat. I can't get my sound to work. Oh, you know what? That's okay. I'll private message you a little bit later this evening, okay? So, Bari, let me unmute.
Yes, I'm here. I was not able to.
Yes. I only know the entities are cleared now. Be gone, be gone.
Okay. If you want to know what's going on, well, I'm doing packing and, you know, getting ready to moving, and I have not been on your call for a few days now. So this is the truth, didn't do anything. But today I decided at least I'll show up at 4 o'clock. So here I am for a little bit. So I wasn't able to follow you. I'll just have to look at the files later on.
Yeah,
that's the truth.
Everything uploaded, and then it'll all be in order, and then you'll be able to tune into it. Okay. So.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you so much for being with us, and I just kind of feel you holding the space for us too. I know you got a lot going on in your life right now and a big move, but thank you so much for being in our corner of the world.
Sure.
All right, honey.
My pleasure.
All right, and then Annette, and then Sue. We just had a conversation earlier. I know you're so busy. You said you needed some time to kind of sit with things. Was this morning helpful as far as this morning? Did that give you any clarity?
Yes, very helpful. It certainly did give me some clarity, and I think the biggest takeaway I had from this morning is just I hadn't quite figured out. I just need to do a little bit more work around what's stopping me from committing as well, because I seem to have been putting up blocks and I didn't know what or where, but when you were speaking this morning it did help. So I need to do a little bit of work around that, but I think I also just need to get over that it's my time now.
Yeah.
And that I just need to do it and just stop worrying, stop agitating so much about everything and just get on with it.
Well, the thing is, as long as you stay in your head and you're in that construction zone, that's all. That's the only result you can actually get. And
yeah,
you know, those voices in your head can get pretty loud when you're trying to create all this in the vacuum, right? So I just, you know, I'm just encouraging you, and you know, I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, you got to get your hands on some living human beings just so you can kind of get filled back up again. And remember you as a coach, and let that coach part of you take over on this project. right? That coach healer. Yeah. So, all right, honey, you're doing it right. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. And then, let's see, someone just popped in on an iPhone, and I see the top of a head and some a little bit of eyes. That's all I see right now. So let me check in. Who is this? Who's on the iPhone? Is that you on the bottom there? Let me see. There's somebody laying in bed looking at the iPhone. Let me unmute you. Yeah, you're unmuted. Let me unmute you here. There you go. Can you hear me? Hi. Heather. It's Heather. Okay.
Oh, it's me?
Yeah. There we go. I think somebody who popped in, it was on the iPhone, and it was an African American lady, and I saw her forehead and some fingers, and that's all I could see. I don't know if that's you or not. It was the iPhone.
No.
No. Okay.
I'm on an iPhone, but my video isn't playing right now, I don't think.
Okay, that's all right. So Heather, have you been able to follow along with us on any of this, or are you just now jumping on?
I was with you this morning, but I wasn't, I kind of came on halfway through, so.
Okay. All right. And hey, tell me a little bit. Hi, there you are. Oh, and you got the San Francisco. Oh, we got Heather's fancy. Look at this, y'all. So, where are you? Are you in San Francisco? Where are you actually?
Yeah, I'm on the bay. Actually, I'm on a boat.
Okay. Okay. And what are you already a coach, or tell me about you? What do you do?
Well, I'm a therapist and a coach, so I'm trying to do both. But I've been a therapist for a lot of years, and I ended up having some health issues, and I'm trying to kind of reinvent myself and find a way of running a practice a little bit more kind of from home. I don't have the energy like I used to.
Yeah.
So I get tired easier, and I would just like to do a little bit more like online, where I don't have to go all the way to Napa to my office, or I have an office in San Diego, I have an office in Napa. I'm all over.
Oh, and you carry that weight every month too, right? Of the financial part of it and keeping those calendars full and juggling all that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Woo. It's a lot.
So what's your vision for this next stage that you want to go through? I mean, that you want to go to? What is your vision there?
Visioning that it would be more online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't done any like Skype sessions or anything. My husband has actually been doing some coaching too. So yeah, he's been more brave, had more energy than I have. So
well,
yeah, I get stuck in overwhelm. I was gonna actually try to start a few meetup groups. But then I just get a little overwhelmed and freaked out, and then I don't do anything.
Well,
so
yeah, I mean, that's still having to leave your house, go out and deal with the people in addition to the other things. And there's advantages to Meetup, but I would say not yet on Meetup.
okay.
I started with Meetup probably like 3 or 4 months in, when Meetup was still fairly new. And I saw that there's 150 people in Irving interested in this one topic. And I'll tell you my one idea about why I chose Meetup. One, I have an idea about being the hub, but I thought, well, if I'm a Meetup leader, I can meet other Meetup leaders. And it turned out that was a great strategy. Like one time I had a workshop that didn't make it. Spent an afternoon connecting with other Meetup leaders, and I sold out my workshop that afternoon by
Oh, wow.
readers. Yeah. Then how I used it was I brought in other speakers and teachers, but I always got to be, hey, I'm the leader of the group. This leader who's in the community that everybody wanted to have a chance to talk to, that leader is like, oh, excited about working with me. So that's a cool positioning, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it lifted up my cachet, and then it brought their people to me. And my group jumped up very big. At one point, I had 1,800 people in it, and then I moved to Seattle, and then I left that group behind. But I just kept working it as a way to bring in other speakers and teachers and pull in their list. So there are some advantages, but that exact strategy can be done on Facebook or through a LinkedIn group, okay, depending on who you're wanting to coach, okay?
Okay.
So meetup
Yeah,
requires
when I think,
live meetings.
so you were talking about perfect clients, and my clients through the years have been all varied. The best clients, like I would have never, like I've had construction workers and they're great. I've had massage therapists and they're great, and I could never really figure out what the tie is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than there's an openness and a willingness.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I couldn't quite ever pick out, the idealized client stuff.
Yeah. Well, we can, I think that's one of the things I'm going to be doing. I'm putting together a clinic, and I think it'll be easier to do that. And then the one way I look at it is like if you ever read forums or anything like that, there's always that one person or that one type of person you go, how do they not see that? Can't they see they're stepping over money, or can't they see that the solution's right there? And can't they see that it's costing them so much in their life or whatever? So there's always that group of people, and but it could be other therapists too, because you folks need some help. Everybody needs some help. And since you
Yeah.
have burnout and health issues, I'm someone that had a major burnout, crash and burn, health collapse, and rebuilding my life after it. And it turns out there's a lot of people have had that issue. Particularly at our age, and they still got to figure out how to make a living. But first, they got to pull up their courage and resources, because there's a lot of shame around having been sick and failed somehow, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. I think you and I have some stuff to talk about. So I think you and I need to set up a phone call, okay? So I'll message you later.
Okay.
I'm already getting turned on talking to you about this, so I think there's something there, all right? All right, honey, but I appreciate you joining us, okay? All right.
Thank you.
And I just want to, Crystal, I got to hear about Crystal. How are you doing? Let's see, let me see, unmute you. I can't get Crystal unmuted. Crystal, are you able to unmute yourself?
There we go. Can you hear me?
There we go. How are you doing? Oh, I lost her.
Hello.
There you are.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So, was this
All right.
morning helpful? Was this morning's session helpful?
Yeah, it was. It helped with a lot of clarity for me as far as working more towards who my ideal client could be, and where to look for my ideal client.
Okay. So, so far, what have you come up with on that?
On where to find or who?
Yeah, either one, like who you
or
really,
both.
who you want to work with, and where you think you might be able to find them.
Well, just from my past experience of people that I've worked with, I'm thinking more of the professional male. the ones that I've worked with in the past, they appear to want to work on healing healing issues that they have in them, in themselves. And I don't know, they with those, with some of them that I've worked with in the past, their belief system is what hinders them. And then when I give them a format to follow that's easy peasy, they're like, oh my God, this is easy, easier, and excuse me. And so, yeah. And then where to find them, definitely some of it's going to be networking, and I believe LinkedIn is probably going to be my better option.
Yeah, I think so too. There's a lot of kind-hearted soft souls having to dress up in shark skin every day and go out and pretend they're a shark, right? So,
right,
yeah. Because I realize that the client I don't want to work with is the one that doesn't want to follow through and do the work. I've had enough of those clients, that they're too needy. And so I had to look at my contrast of what I didn't want to work with, so then that way I could realize which of my clients I really, fell in love with as far as working with them, or that type of client again.
Okay. So you're getting clarity.
I hope that makes sense.
About, hey, also what is happening here with everybody. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and put you on mute. Thank you so much. Because Crystal's been transparent, and Crystal always kind of brings this powerful vulnerability and truth-telling to the group, and I always appreciate that. So thank you. All right. So I don't know if I can, I think you're muted, so we'll go from there. It's really stepping into this new position, as I said earlier, about being the leader, being that healer, or the teacher, being the authority. And one of the things that I shared, I think it was yesterday or some point in the past, was I had this coaching client, and I said, oh yeah, I really like working with him. And I realized how I had my coaching set up with him. But then almost as I was, over the last few months, what I realized was I was kind of setting myself up as this kind of roadside comforter kind of thing. Because my inner vision was being that help that you find along the way, and as everybody's on their journey, right? And it would be like, oh, what is it you need today? I'm here for you. So I'm like this, healer at a, cafeteria. Oh, do we need resources? Do we need triage? Do you need some business advice? And then I would kind of dole out what the client thought they needed in that moment. But I was kind of caught in this kind of like sales, let's get this next one, right? Getting these cycles. And so I had this client who was paying, a nice amount of money for every session, and turned out he wanted to work he said, yeah, can I talk to you next Tuesday and next Tuesday and next Tuesday? And finally I was like, Dr. Dave, we got to go to a deeper level here, because you feel better when you get off the phone, but you're not really taking action. And what I want to ask you to do is to commit for 6 months for this end goal. And these are the steps that we have to go through. And I need to know if you're willing to show up and be 100% accountable for the transformation that you want to make, right? I mean, I just really all of a sudden became that leader and said, this is why you're kind of circulating in the sessions, even though you feel better, but you're still not quite manifesting, because he's kind of treating me like a genie that you rub the bottle, right? Oh, let me do the one command, Catherine. Okay, I wish today, right? And that was not the right position. So when I switched that, I realized I hadn't been a leader for him, and I wasn't in integrity with him for his healing. And this is part of what we're doing. Welcome, yes, and that's what I was trying to get at. Thank you. So that's, aw, love you too. So it's coming into that more powerful position of who you are. So in our mind, there's the healer, the coach that we are, and then there's this trying to make the business, and they're two separate things. But here's what has really been coming up. If you have been in the One Command circles, if you've noticed, there's this slight shift in how I'm talking to people. And it would be like if someone said, well, I've got this part of me that's the skeezy salesman. I don't, he just, that part of me just, I don't want to be fake, and I don't want people to think I only want money, right? So the positive intention, I want to be in integrity. But by trying to do that, because there's a split, your healer part of you gets thrown out of integrity. So that keeps this split. This keeps you wobbling back and forth. Does that make sense? So this question has started coming up at whatever you think is a block. If all paths lead to God, all paths lead to awakening and understanding, we can make that assumption. So I've been asking people, it's like, I wonder how that skeezy salesman part of you could help you be a better healer. Then that just opens up this whole other inner conversation. And I notice I'm stepping outside and I'm just asking questions. And now the people are more engaged, and I'm actually more leading the session. And then I'm like saying, and I wonder how the healer that you are could actually help improve your business results. I wonder how. And I wonder how those two can work together. Well, then with the One Command, we say, I don't know how, right? So what's healing in this group is this split way of thinking of business purpose. And there's no difference. And just like we said, your healing and your coaching is no different than the selling. It's all the same. So that's what brings us to the framework, that we want to be in that position of the coach or the healer or the teacher or the therapist that we are, without actually giving away the farm and trying to make a transformation in that moment, because we try to like heal them enough that we give so much away that maybe they'll choose us and love us. And that never works. That doesn't work in relationships. It doesn't work anywhere. But if you're operating from your authority and you give great value, then that's going to build that trust so that people get to know you, like you, and trust you. Know you, like you, trust you, right? That's going to start building that. And that's where using a format like this 5-day challenge is so powerful, or having the circles is so powerful. So that, hey, I have a place to pour out my heart, but I can't go deep diving on you individually. And I certainly don't let people assume that just because they're in the circle, they're going to get all the answers. If there's something deeper, then we have a conversation someplace else. But it's where I can have a deep, conversation. People get to know me. They get a sense of my wacky sense of humor, but also how I see and tune into people. And, they're sometimes surprised by the details. Like there was someone on the call the other night, and I said, yeah, your eating is really erratic. You need to get your schedule more set, and that's going to actually give you a greater sense of security. You're not going to bed at the same time every night. You're waking up whenever, you're eating whenever. Everything's just kind of random. And she went, yeah, it is. So that kind of stuff pops up. So that's my intuition, but that's me actually, when that information comes through, I know I'm in alignment with them. So what the conversation that I'm going to be teaching you through this framework is how to be the coach, how to be the healer, how to be the counselor, how to be whoever you are in your greatness and your truth, and to be leading people through a conversation. And then it's, if you think they're a good fit for you, it's someone you invite into your world. And that's the way to think about it. If you honestly think that you could help them, you get to stay in integrity. But if they're not the right fit for you right now, then you have some place to send them to feed them and educate them, or you have a way you can set up a system to stay in touch, and then maybe they'll be a referral partner for you. Back in the olden days of apartments, here's a great example of that. Had a man come in with his 3 children, and the building that we have, there's this thing called fair housing, and hey, if a family wants to live on the 5th floor, yes, of course, they'd be happier on the 1st, but we cannot tell them they can or can't live in a particular building. And the apartment that was available for them had the oldest, grumpiest manager, and it actually wasn't a good fit, but he and I had a nice rapport. And because he liked working with me, he was going to go ahead and put down the deposit. And I thought, if he lives here, he's going to be so miserable, but I can't tell him that, right? I can't, by law, there's things I can or can't say. And so he just kind of stayed on my heart. And one day I was driving in the neighborhood, and I saw an apartment for rent, and it just grabbed my attention because the guy had put down a deposit with me, and he was, you know, we were waiting for the apartment to get ready. But I saw this other apartment, and I was like, I think this is a better deal for him. Turned out, you know, it was a ground floor. It was a better layout. It actually had the 3 bedrooms he wanted instead of 2, and it was $300 less a month because he was a single dad. I got so excited about this apartment, I drove to his job 15 minutes away. I happened to know where he worked because I had his application. And I said, is Jim working today? Yeah, Jim, come out here. And I said, and he was shocked to see me. I said, Jim, I got to give you this number. I think this is a better apartment for you. Of course, I want you here, but based on your situation, I think this other place might be a better fit for you. And I think you ought to call today. And it turned out he's like so grateful because it was going to be a stretch for him to work with me, right? Well, Jim wound up sending me 6 other people who rented from me. So by being in integrity and not trying to grab Jim, I actually wound up getting more people. And this was over, like, one time there was like 4 years later, and someone said, I don't know if you remember him, but his name's Jim. He told me about you. I'm like, oh, well, Jim, I remember Jim, right? So we got to be in that service mind and thinking also what's best for them. So if you go to the website, salesmarketprofiting.com, there's a recording on this, and where Taki explains it beautifully. Taki works on what's called frameworks, and this is his selling system. And when I heard it, it made complete sense. And you'll even see my comment at the very top of all the comments they got that day, because I had been in a slump. And once he said this, it just made perfect sense. So what I did with it was, once I learned this, I'd gone to like an e-women's networking thing, and I had all these business cards of women I had met. And I live in Fort Worth, so I just contacted them and said, hey, I'm going to be in Dallas next week on Tuesday the 15th. Are you going to be available because I'm going to be there meeting some clients, and I was wondering if you had some time to stop by and maybe we could have a cup of coffee together. That was it, because they're a business networking thing, right? So they said, sure. And I think I don't want to lie, but I had 6 to 8 appointments sitting from one end to the other. You know, I got to have breakfast, lunch, and a nice late afternoon piece of, coffee and pie. And that day I signed $3,500, but that action led to about $10,000 in sales that one afternoon, okay? And it was so easy because I was making friends and I was not trying to be salesy, but then just thinking about this process as I got to know them, then it would be, well, it sounds like this. Would you like to have a conversation about that? Yeah, would it be all right now, or we could do it later? No, now's good. Let's go. And so just because I was interested in asking questions from the coach perspective, it was pulling them in, and they started getting more excited about the possibility in their business. Would you like to have that effect on people getting, having a conversation that got them so excited about the potential in their life that they wanted to have you in their life to make sure it happened. That's what we're talking about. That's who I want to be. That's how I want to walk around being. How about you? Me. That's me. That's what I want. Okay. So here's how this goes. I have Taki's picture, and then I gave this presentation in a networking meeting when I had shared this technique, and they said, please come back and present that. So what Taki has here in his funny little pictures, he's got the picture of the cat, which is building rapport, setting the agenda, that type of thing. But here it is in English in case you cannot read Taki pictograph, okay? So we're going to have a conversation. So, hey, how you doing? I'm great. How are the kids? Oh, it's good. Everything, having any trouble getting here? No, it was great, right? You're in this just positive, receptive, and that's just a minute or so, right? Just just kind of connecting in. Then you as the leader, you're going to set the agenda. So the way that sounds is, first, just having that, actually, I would say, I want to dial this back. When we get together, here's what we're going to do today. I want to find out a little bit about who you are, where you are now, and where you want to go. And maybe we can talk about how we get there, right? And so those are three things. This is what I want to talk to you about. And then, if it makes sense, then if I think it makes sense for you and for me, then we could talk about what it might look like to work together. Is that fair enough? Right? So this is what I'm going to do. Where do you want to go? Where are you now? How do you want to get there? So then our goal is at the end of our conversation, you're going to be able to make a clear decision about your business, because you're absolutely going to get clarity and transformation from us talking today. And my goal for you is that you're going to have a clear decision about your business and what the next steps are, because probably what's stopping them is some indecision, right? So this is kind of how he's framing it. This is what it looks like. So we're already kind of setting it. That way it's not like, I'm going to do my voodoo magic on you, because I was trained as a professional hypnotist and a professional psychic. So do you think people would go, oh my God, she's going to read my mind, and then she's going to hypnotize me, and then she's going to trick me into doing something? But if you're clear and upfront about, hey, I just want to get to know you and how we can serve each other, and if it makes sense, I want to work together, right? It's just very straightforward. And then the goal of today's conversation is for you to be able to make a new decision about your business. Fair enough? Yeah, let's go. So here's the first thing. I want to get a sense of, in 12 months, what do you want your business to look like? And then you get them to kind of dream, like, where do you want to be? And then you're going to start asking some questions, like, first that you start, oh, I want to be a speaker. That's great. Then you start drilling down. Well, if you think about being a speaker, like, are you thinking about having webinars, or are you thinking about a speaking circuit, or maybe colleges? What are we thinking about? When you think about being a speaker, what does that look like? Then we're going to start just narrowing down, and our job's just to keep asking questions, not try to inform or educate, but even just your questions are going to start opening their mind, right? So even if you had someone who said, I am so sick of being sick, I'm so sick of being in this construction zone all the time, I'm so sick of falling back into these toxic relationships. And what's stopping them from going that another step, guess what? It's because they don't have a clear vision, and they haven't been asking themselves the right question. They haven't really been letting themselves finish, because as soon as maybe they start thinking about it, and Heather, the therapist, will tell you that they start looping into their old story about it. What you're going to do is you're going to move them past that and start really getting deep and asking these penetrating questions so that you have a clear idea of what a positive future looks like and what they really do want. And maybe they didn't know until they were talking to you. Wow, I never said that out loud to anyone. I start to tell my dreams, and then everybody tells me what the industry says and how suddenly we're on a story about their best friend Joe or whatever. No one's really ever listened to me about my own dreams and my visions and my goals and maybe what it takes to get there. Here's another side note, guys, why this is important. Do you remember earlier this week, we said, hey, think about where you want to be in a year. Does that feel good? And everybody got really high. Yes. Oh, I'm living in Bali and I'm, got my coaching practice and my bank account's full and whatever, right? That it felt really expansive and exciting. But then as we started bringing it in and dialing down, how everybody kind of started collapsing down, and that realist part kind of started bogging them down a bit. And then that we could start meeting what their fears and start hearing what the blocks are. Okay. So then you go, okay, that sounds amazing. That's fantastic. That's absolutely doable. And if it's not, you could say you probably are not going to be a major baseball star in the next 12 months, but you could probably, start training and really get really good with the local team and have a good, local intramural sport or something. But what else could you do that would give you as much satisfaction, right? You're going to coach them. Then you bring them back to here and now, into reality. So how is it right now? What does that look like? You say you want to earn $100,000 a month. What are you earning now? And then you're just checking in, like, is that okay? And then is this valuable so far? And that's the check-in. And y'all hear me do that a lot. Is this valuable? Is this helpful? Is this making sense? And then you'll hear me. Do you want to hear this next part? Is that something you want to keep talking about? And you hear me modeling that all the time. So where is it now? What's the current reality? And then, hey, if this, then we get to like, what is holding us back? That's step 6. What's broken? What are the roadblocks? And we just find out all the reasons. But then we really have to ask what would happen if you do nothing? And then it's like, oh, it's only going to get worse. And our job, when we get people to that point as a coach or healer, our job is to bring them to a new decision point. And we have people in the One Command, Maureen Bell, because we brought her to a new decision point about her health, her cancer went into remission. This is how this works. You've got to come to this new decision point, because up until now, everything has been operating at default, right? And if they knew how to get to that next level, they would do it. But they've had that little lie that they said, well, right now things are just busy, it's hectic. As soon as A, B, or C gets over, then I'll be able to do what I really want. And guess what? That time never happens. There's always going to be bills to pay. There's always going to be stuff that comes up. There's always going to be that next thing that we allow to get in our way. But when you have that clear path, that you've made that decision, then it's way easier to start building that momentum, okay? So we have to get them there. And then he actually has an opposite question he asked. So it would be, my business isn't making the money that I want it to. I have only got 2 or 3 clients. Well, great. If suddenly you had 20 clients, what would that look like? Oh my gosh, then they panic, right? Like, oh, I don't know. Like literally their brain can't go there. They can't allow themselves to even imagine that. So we have to kind of shock them awake a little bit because we know they're in a trance. So then he's just asked some questions, gotten some feedback, and then he checks in, he slows it way down. So what's been the most valuable for you in this chat? And then as you start hearing, you're going to start saying, hey, are they a good fit for you? And then you get that feedback. And then the next is, he says, assume the not sale. Now, I was taught assumptive closes. Like, my approach always has been, well, of course, this must be my client. This must be my customer. This must be my resident. We just have to find the right thing, the right place, the right space. I just assumed everybody was a yes. But he flips it. And it's really interesting because then he slows it way back. So he gets what's called being prescriptive. Okay. And if you, let's think about this. So often when we are in sales mode, we get excited and then our voice gets higher and we start talking a little bit faster and we're smiling, we're trying to be up and yes, and you can do anything and we're going to go do this together. It's fantastic. Yes. Right. But who talks like that? Car salesmen, fake salespeople, right? But I've never heard an attorney do that or a brain surgeon, certainly not a therapist, right? So it's actually, they drop back and they go, here's what I see are your main problems, right? And then they're given the prescription, number 1, number 2, number 3. And because you know what those distinctions are, like I've been teaching you how to make those. 1, you might be here. 2, you might be there. 3, there might be this. 4, then you're getting a sense of what those symptoms are. Remember that? So he slows it way down. And it's like, okay, so here's what you've got going for you. And here's what you're running up against. And here's where you need to focus your time and your energy. Here's what it's going to take. This is what it's going to cost in time, effort, money, energy. Maybe there's going to be a mindset shift, right? Maybe you're going like, hey, unless you really fully commit 100% and you agree to start doing the work, even when you don't feel like it, you're just going to keep having the same life. And is that true? Is that right? Yeah, I mean, and I don't tell you this, I think you actually know that. So what I need to know is how do you think working with me could help you? How do you think working with someone like me could help you achieve your goals? That's not you going, listen, if you work with me, I can promise you this result. You're asking the person, how do you think working with me could help you? Okay, and what results would you want to get as a result of the investment of your time and your energy of working with me? What is the big goal? Like, we got your big 12-month goal, but now when you think about where you are and what's stopping and what work you need to get done, where you would need to focus, now when you think about 12 months, where would you like to be? Is it the same goal? You know, because we have some clarity. Now when you think about that, what does that look like? Right? And you know, in coaching and practitioner and therapy, we're always looping back to that original thing so that we can start creating that congruency. But I'm still not assuming the sale, and neither does Taki. And Taki's programs start at about $30,000 and up, I think is about where that is. I think you might have gone to 50 now. But where is it? Okay, so if that makes sense, and are you comfortable? Is this, you know, he just keeps checking in with them and keeps talking through. And then he asks this other really interesting question. He says, where do you think we should go from here? And then he waits. And that's what I did. And then people go, well, I think I need to go home and do some homework. It's like, well, would you like some help with that? Or what help would, you know, do you think you can do it on your own, or is there some help you need with that? What kind of help do you think you need, right? Okay. I have some ideas about what that might look like to help you, but, you know, where do you think we should go? Where would you like to get started with this? Because I do have a program, but you may not be a fit for it right now. So what do you want to, how fast do you want to go, right? And so again, he's just like, putting on the brakes, right? It's kind of like dating. Oh, do you want to go out? Yeah, you bet I do. Come on, let's do it. And you go, no, I don't know. Who are you? Why would I want to go out with you, right? Even though you've been watching them all along, right? So then if they go, okay, let's talk about coaching. What could you do for me? And then that's when you can go into the mode of, well, we've talked about, this is what you said is you wanted to accomplish. Here's the steps. Where what I would say is, in my group, we take people through these steps and we really start nailing down these key points. You've got accountability. You've got a community of people that are somewhere a little bit ahead of you that can help you. You have a way to contribute and get immediate feedback. And then here's what it is. This is what the price is. And then it's a yes or no, right? Here's the offer. Here's the name of it. Here's what we do. This is the outcome you can express. And then here's the price. And then it's like, what do you say? And then he's silent. And again, the whole time he's been letting the people pull to him, and they're already starting to explain why they should be working with you. And it's so gentle because you're still in that coaching and teaching, you're educating, and even if they didn't decide to work with you, they will never forget that conversation. But then if they meet someone who might be a better fit, they can recommend them, and then y'all can still maintain connection and you can get them enrolled into your world. Does this make sense? Are y'all with me on this? So if you want to raise your hand and ask questions about this process, this is what it is. But I really want to encourage you to hear Taki's take on this. It is such a beautiful, loving model, and it's very direct. And yet it's not salesy or fake. You're coming at it from a heart of service. So let me check the chat right now and see if y'all are with me on this. I think I might have thrown everybody into process. Yeah, I mean, everybody kind of gets a little freaked out when we talk about that real steps. But we really haven't been taught how to have an authentic sales conversation. All right. If you want to unmute yourself and give me comments or questions, that would be great. It's okay. All right. 1 second. I'm getting a text message. All right. Well, I am so thrilled that everybody got this 100%. And you're going to be ready to do this tomorrow, right? Who's ready to go out and do this? Thank you, Sue. Great way to offer the value and make the sale. Thank you, Sue. Just throwing me a little crumb here. Thank you, honey. So, but everybody else, when you think about this, does this make sense? Okay. All right. Good. Good. Annette's still saying she can't get her sound to work. Very good. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And so please work on this sheet. I'll get the video uploaded, but still work with things as far as you can. And then tomorrow I'm going to be talking to you. I'll be letting people know about the special clinic that I'm setting up. As I said earlier, and I think Sue and Crystal will tell you, we've been doing some spot coaching, and that really helps. And what I think people need is not just, hey, let's get this, coaching group and we'll follow for the next 3 months. I don't think that that's going to benefit you to think of 3 months out. What I really want to encourage you to think about is, what do you need to do to get going as soon as possible? Because I don't know about you, but I need to make money every week. Anybody else can do without making money every week or every month? I need to make money every week, every month, and I have my daily goal of what I make in order for my business to be here, and so that is set clearly. I am not a person who can say, you know, I think next year, I think I want to start making money next year. But until then, I want to spend my time figuring stuff out. I'm done with figuring stuff out. Who's done with trying to figure it out? So I'm going to be setting up a clinic. I'm going to make it as affordable as possible. It's going to be highly interactive. And then the only thing to decide is, would it be best to do it over a weekend, like through Zoom, or should we do it like over 3 nights? And so I've got to think about the best way. And I'm going to just poll people, and then we'll go from there. Is that fair enough? Will that work? Okay. So let's go ahead and get signed off. I love you guys. I am excited for you. I believe in you. I know you've got a message for the world. So every one of you are so powerful. So I just want you to know that I'm the witness for that, and I'm holding the space for that until you really catch that vision. And once you do, there'll be no stopping you, right? Absolutely not. So until the next time, my darling, this is Catherine Perry, the Big Vision Coach. Now witness your mastery. Bye-bye.